Hey, Venetia's cutesy squad. I want to tell you this little story. It's always happening to this BMW. I feel like BMW's a piece of shit. Just in case if anybody else have those kind of cars, you already know the deal. Them cars are full of shit. Unless you get an old back in the day one and it's like used, it won't be full of shit. Because I don't know, maybe the things what they put inside the car, it always like fuck up the car. I don't know. So let me tell you the time that when I dropped my sister to her college, the car was in smokes. My sister told me about it was like smoking up, one time when she was driving it, right? I didn't believe her. My mom didn't believe her either. So when it happened to me, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What is happening? She's like, that's the same smoke I was telling you about. And I was like, wow, your theory was right, or your how you was saying it was right. She's like, look at it, it's smoking up. It was white fog. White fog mean what? I don't know. To me and my sister, we watch a lot of movies, so white fog means it's gonna blow up, right? So I got scared. I jumped out the car, not even turning off the car. I jumped out the car. The windows down and everything, right? So she was like, this is the fog I was telling you about. So I was like, okay. So I was like, what am I gonna do? She's like, I don't know what you're gonna do, but I'm going to class. I was like, you're literally gonna like leave me here? She's like, I gotta go to class. What can I tell you? I gotta go to class. So I was like, wow. So it's gonna be my problem. So I was like, I can't pick you up later. She's like, yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but eventually I'm gonna catch a ride to go back home. And I was like, whatever. So at this time, I was like calling my mom. She was like, what are you talking about? I was like, the car is smoking up. It's white fog. She was like, what that supposed to mean? I was like, it looked like it's going to blow up. She was like, oh, okay. What color is this fog? And I was like, it's white. So I'm like, it's two different kind of sides of fog. White fog, I don't know what it means. I think gray fog means it's gonna blow up, right? So I didn't know what the white fog means. So I was like, assuming it will blow up. First is white fog, then it gets to black fog, and then it's gonna blow up, right? That's what I'm assuming, right? Because I don't know nothing about cars, right? So I called her. She was like, do you want to drive home? And I was like, I could take stops here and there, and maybe get myself home. But I don't want to die in this car, right? So my brother's in the back seat. He's like, what's going on? And I was like, we're gonna die in this car. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, the car's gonna blow up. He's like, what that supposed to mean? I was like, nigga, I don't know. I don't know what that mean. So she was like, don't bring him to school. I'll like make a tow truck come to you, right? So she called on the tow truck. I'm waiting across the street because I don't want to blow up right next to the car, right? But it's right next to the place where I dropped my sister, right? So everybody's looking around like, whose car is this? Why the windows down and everything like that? They're looking in the car, and I'm looking around like I'm calling different kind of tow trucks and try to get like the situation to zoom, right? Like die down or something like that, right? So apparently, after a while, these people keep looking in the car, and I'm looking at them like, y'all not gonna steal nothing out of the car, right? So they walking around. They went back inside the college, right? And then this lady came, right? And this time I'm still calling the tow trucks. My aunt gave me some numbers to call, and I'm calling everybody. I don't like talking to people on the phone. Just me, I don't know. So I was calling people. I was like, hey, this situation is like this and this. How much you charge? He's like 160. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Why is it 160? So I hang up the phone. So I call another one. I was like, hey, my car is like smoking and stuff like that. Can you tow my car back over there? He's like, $80. I was like, oh no. I was like, no, 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 no. This is crazy. So I hanged up the phone, right? So I called this other one. And he was like, oh, I'll charge you such and such. And I was like, oh, I don't want that one. So my aunt gave me a number, and I called him, and it was this other one with my mom. So I called that one for my aunt, right? And he's like, I will charge you like $60. And I was like, okay, bring your ass over here. He's like, which college you at? I was like, this one is, he's like, it's a lot of those. It's like 3 of those. And I was like, which location you at? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. He's like, are you gonna go look? Are you gonna go find out what location you went? I was like, okay. So I ran across the street where the car is, right? People still looking inside the car, right? So I'm like, I didn't want to get back in the car and turn it back on because I don't know if it's gonna blow up right in front of me, right? Inside when I'm inside of it, right? So I was like, I left it there. I was like, I ran inside the little, I think it was like the place inside, right? And I got this girl. I was like, hey, do you know which location this is? She's like, oh, is in Day, you know. So, and I was like, okay, you know. So I was like, it's in Day, you know. He's like, okay. So I'll be there in a couple thing there, right? So my mom was like giving me another number, right? And I was like, nah, I got this one for my aunt, right? She's like, is he gonna come? And I was like, yeah, he's gonna come, you know. At the time, I got two tow trucks. Make sure if one of them don't come, then I got the other one, right? The other one, it was like $80. And I was like, I ain't gonna pay for him. If he comes, then I have to pay for him, you know. But if the other one comes for 60, then I will go into that one, right? So he finally came, you know, and he's like he's like pulling up. He's like, how do it turn on? I was like, yeah, it turns on. I was like, it works, you know. It could turn on, you know. It's just smoky, you know. He's like, do I need to drag it? I was like, no, you don't need to drag it. It turns on. So he pulled it up onto the tow truck, right? And we finally waited, and then eventually the one was for 80. He came around, and he's like, hey, he's like arguing with the other tow truck that I got, you know, pulling up the car, right? So he's like, this and such, this and this, you know. He's like, why is you here? He's like, oh, some lady called me and stuff like that. He's like, who called you? And she was like, blah 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 blah. He didn't say no name, but he was like, yeah, this person called and stuff like that. So he's like, okay, so he left. Apparently we got into the car and we was driving back home, right? So again, he pulled up the car into the driveway, you know, how my sister got home, my other sister picked her up, you know, after work, you know, and I gave him the money, and it called the day, you know. That was how it happened, right? But let me tell you the little part into it, right? So the other guy came, right? And he's like arguing with the person, right? He's like, no, before this happened, right? They was like, what kind of car is it? And I was like, is a BMW. He's like, do you know the brand of it? And I was like, it's an X5, right? He's like, what color is it? I was like, it's a dark blue, you know. It's in front of the certain place, right? In one of the buildings, right? He's like, okay. And I didn't know you need to know all these things about the goddamn car, you know. I gave him a decent amount, you know, what I knew about the car, you know. I didn't know too much. So, guys, like and subscribe, turn your notifications on. I'll see you later. Bye.